Chapter 1330. Jingyu, I've already told you. Qin Bai looked at Jingyu and said, Xiao Qin has already forgotten about you. Do you think I'll believe your words? Jingyu smiled in disdain. She stared at Qin Bai and said, Qin Bai, what are you planning? Xiao Qin only married you because of your pupils. Now that the armies of the 4 countries have been weakened and you've returned to the Holy Family, Xiao Qin can't stop the Holy Family. How can he treat you well? Qin Bai looked at Jingyu and said, Give up. I don't believe you. Jingyu shook her head firmly. She stared at Qin Bai and said, Do you think I'll believe you? Then we'll see. Qin Bai laughed and watched Jingyu leave. Jingyu stood there and looked in the direction that Qin Bai left. Her expression turned cold and she lowered her eyes. She didn't say anything. The night was not peaceful. Jingyu woke up early in the morning. When Qing Ru entered the room, she saw Jingyu sitting on the windowsill with her arms crossed. She didn't move and looked into the distance. Qing Ru frowned. It wasn't easy to see the holy maiden being angry these days. Why did she become like this in the blink of an eye? She just sat there blankly without saying anything. Miss you? Qing Ru knew that Jingyu didn't like her calling her holy maiden. She blinked and called out to her. Jingyu seemed to have returned to her senses. When she turned her eyes over, there was still a hint of confusion in them. The Holy Lord sent an invitation. He said that he will be hosting guests from Dongqing in the courtyard today. There will be a tea party, and he invited the saint to attend. Qing Ru bowed in front of Jingyu and said. Jingyu, who was still in a daze, suddenly became alert after hearing about Xiao Qin. She straightened up, looked at Qing Ru and asked, When did it happen? Where is it? Qing Ru was slightly taken aback by Jingyu's huge reaction. She then repeated what she had just said in detail. She then saw Jingyu stand up and start looking for clothes. Qing Ru looked at the series of changes in Jingyu and frowned in confusion. She didn't know why Jingyu was so enthusiastic about the 9th royal uncle from Dongqing. She stole a glance at him and saw that he was really handsome. But his eyes were scary. Compared to the high priestess, Qing Ru still thought the high priestess was better. Jingyu didn't know what Qing Ru was thinking. She only wanted to see the 9th empress. After tidying up, she walked towards the courtyard that Yun Weijun mentioned. When Jingyu arrived, no one was there yet. Jingyu casually found a chair in the courtyard and sat down, waiting for everyone to arrive. She didn't expect that before Xiao Qin arrived, Nailin Yu would arrive first. Jingyu, what a coincidence! Nailin Yu was dressed in her usual red clothes. She swayed her slender waist as she walked in front of Jingyu. She smiled at Jingyu and said, You couldn't wait for 9th uncle? What does it have to do with you? Jingyu turned her head away coldly. She didn't want to talk to Nailin Yu. Nailin Yu looked at Jingyu with a pitiful expression as she said, What a pitiful woman. She was forgotten by her husband without any hesitation. How laughable! Chapter 1331. Nailin Yu. When Jingyu heard Nailin Yu's words, she slowly stood up. She coldly looked at Nailin Yu and said, Did you do it? What did you do to Xiao Qin? What could I have done? Do you think that I have the ability to brainwash Xiao Qin? Nailin Yu's lips curled into a faint smile. She looked at Jingyu and said, I already said that when a person doesn't want to remember someone, they will naturally choose to forget them without hesitation. I don't believe it. Jingyu said with incomparable determination, It must be you guys who did something to Xiao Qin. I don't believe that Xiao Qin will forget me. You don't believe it? Let's wait and see. Nailin Yu looked at Jingyu's anxious expression and her lips curled into a faint smile. She then turned around and sat down at a table. After Nailin Yu sat down, Xiao Qin, Qin Bai, and the others majestically arrived at the corner. Jingyu stood in place and watched. When she saw Xiao Qin and Qin Bai chatting happily, the suspicion in her eyes deepened. Why, whether it was her, Qin Bai, or Qin Bai's bodyguard, Lingji, Xiao Qin acted as if they were meeting for the first time. He clearly knew her from a long time ago. Why was it like this? Jingyu was very puzzled. In this tea party, Xiao Qin's gaze didn't even look at Jingyu. Even when he looked at Nailin Yu, his gaze was calm. It clearly wasn't like this. Jing Yu's hands on her thighs tightly clenched. When she heard the voices of the people around her, she slowly raised her head. A faint smile hung on the corner of her lips. She looked at Xiao Chen and said, "The 9th emperors are so outstanding. I'm afraid that you're already married, right?" "Not yet." When Xiao Chen heard Jing Yu's words, he finally turned his gaze to Jing Yu. However, he also tightly spat out these 2 words. "Not yet, not yet." When Jing Yu heard Xiao Chen's words, her face instantly paled. She looked at the man who used to speak gently to her at all times. Now, he was looking at her with a gaze that she had never felt before. The tone he used to speak to her was no longer one of faint indulgence. Instead, it was a short answer that indicated that he did not want to say another word. Why was it like this? "Xiao Chen, what's wrong with you?" 9th Imperial Uncle is a man sought after by everyone in the Imperial City. When Nailin Yu heard Jing Yu's question, her heart trembled. A faint smile appeared in her eyes as she said, "The Saintess is asking this. Could it be that you've taken a fancy to the 9th Emperors?" "Ah." Before Jing Yu could reply, Qin Bai smiled faintly and said, "Miss Nailin must be joking. The Saintess is this lord's destined wife. How could she marry someone else?" "Xiao Chen, you don't care?" When Jing Yu heard Qin Bai's words, she stared closely at Xiao Chen's expression. However, she didn't see any changes in Xiao Chen's expression. Haha. Nailin Yu covered her mouth and chuckled. She then said, "I was just joking. Look at how anxious the high priest is. He really loves the Saintess." Nailin Yu's words caused Jing Yu to frown. "The tea is cold." Yun Weijuan's expression changed slightly. She raised her hand and picked up the tea on the table. She glanced at Jing Yu. What she saw was Qin Bai pouring a cup of tea for Jing Yu and pushing it towards her. Chapter 1332. I'm not thirsty. Jing Yu looked at the tea that Qin Bai had brought over. She lowered her eyes and pushed the teacup away again, her expression as calm as ever. When Yun Weijun saw Jing Yu's expression, she lowered her eyes and drank the tea in one gulp. Jing Yu was incomparably depressed during this tea party. Her eyes were fixed on Xiao Chen. Seeing Xiao Chen's indifferent appearance and seeing Nailin Yu fawning over him in every possible way, a cold light flashed in Jing Yu's eyes. Even though she knew that Nailin Yu was deliberately acting in front of Jing Yu still felt that it was unbearable. She didn't stay long at the tea party before excusing herself and leaving. In the evening, Jing Yu stood at the edge of the white jade railing and watched as Jing Yu's hot eyes slowly dissipated and slowly sank down the mountain. The orange-red sun shone on Jing Yu's golden-green eyes, dazzling and eye-catching. When Xiao Chen walked up the stone steps, he turned his head and saw this scene. That pair of soul-stirring eyes leaped into Xiao Chen's eyes, causing his body to suddenly stiffen and his pitch-black eyes to fluctuate slightly. Xiao Chen's eyebrows slightly furrowed. When he was about to turn and leave, Jing Yu seemed to feel his gaze and turned her head to look at him. She didn't even think about it before calling out to Xiao Chen. "Xiao Chen." This was probably the second time that Jing Yu had called out Xiao Chen's name so clearly. To Jing Yu, this was already a habit, but to Xiao Chen, it was unfamiliar. He frowned slightly and stopped in his tracks to look at Jing Yu. Xiao Chen didn't say anything. He just stared at Jing Yu with his cold eyes. "You?" Jing Yu opened her mouth slightly as if she wanted to say something, but she didn't know what to say. Looking at Xiao Chen's incomparably familiar face and those cold black eyes, Jing Yu's heart fiercely throbbed with pain. "Xiao Chen, do you really not remember me?" Jing Yu's throat moved slightly. She stared at Xiao Chen and asked, "Don't you remember that it was you who brought me out of the forest and back to the palace? Don't you remember that it was you who found a family for me and disregarded everything to take me as your wife? Don't you remember that it was you who laid out 10 miles of red dowry to welcome me into your family? Don't you remember that you were banished from the Tokyo because of my different pupils? Don't you remember everything that happened in the Romaine forest? And don't you remember, Xiao Chen, that we were once in love?" Jing Yu's voice trembled slightly. As she said those words, all the scenes of them getting to know each other and falling in love with each other appeared in her mind. The man in front of her was so high and mighty, and he doted on her so much. From when he first fought against the imperial family to when he fought against the world, it was all for her. Xiao Qin, don't you remember? Jing Yu's eyes flashed. Her golden-green eyes stared fixedly at Xiao Qin, as if she didn't want to miss any of the expressions on Xiao Qin's face. The two of them stared at each other in silence. The surroundings seemed to have fallen silent. Xiao Qin furrowed his brows in silence. Then he said coldly, "Don't think that this king will treat you differently just because you are the holy maiden of the holy family. Put away your despicable methods. This king has no interest in you." Xiao Qin's pitch-black eyes flashed with impatience. He didn't change his expression after hearing Jing Yu's words. After spitting out these words, he coldly turned and left, leaving a stiff Jing Yu standing in the same spot. Chapter 1333. Qing Ru stood in the distance and watched Xiao Qin's back as he walked away. She then turned to look at Jing Yu, who was still standing in the same spot. Her eyes were filled with worry. Jing Yu's head was lowered and her expression couldn't be seen. Qing Ru stood in the same spot for a long time, wondering if she should go up and call out to Jing Yu. Then, she saw Jing Yu suddenly squat down. Under Qing Ru's shocked gaze, Jing Yu picked up a stone from the ground and threw it in the direction that Xiao Qin had left. "Xiao Qin, you bastard!" Jing Yu threw the stone along with her earth-shattering curse. Although Xiao Qin had already walked far away and there was a wide space ahead, Qing Ru was still stunned by Jing Yu's actions. "Do you think you can pretend that you don't know me? Do you think I'll let you go? You bastard! Let me tell you, even if you forget me, I'll make you remember me. Let me tell you, in this life, don't you dare get rid of me. I'll say it right here today. Xiao Qin, listen up. I'll definitely let you fall in love with me. Fall in love with me again." Jing Yu's earth-shattering cries rang out from the white jade railings outside the sacred clan. Qing Ru's mouth was wide open and she looked like she had seen a ghost. After hearing Jing Yu's domineering vow, she froze for a full minute before running towards Jing Yu with her cheeks flushed red. The holy daughter of the holy family actually expressed her love for another man. How could she be so arrogant? Xiao Qin didn't hear Jing Yu's scream, but the members of the holy family who were passing by heard it. At the same time, Qin Bai, who was standing under the stone railings, also heard it. Qin Bai was standing under the stone railings and his body that was about to walk up suddenly froze. After hearing Jing Yu's scream, Qin Bai's face instantly stiffened and turned ugly. Lingji, who was behind him, was shocked. She looked up at Jing Yu and unknowingly, there was a trace of admiration in her eyes. How many women in the world could be like Jing Yu, who didn't care about everyone's opinions and followed her own heart and arrogantly pursued what she wanted? No matter what the situation was, Lingji admired Jing Yu at this moment. It was the heartfelt admiration and envy of a woman towards another woman. If only she could be like Jing Yu and shout out her own heart, how good would that be? "Let's go." Qin Bai slowly took a step back and stood under the stone railings. He looked at Jing Yu's back with a faint smile in his eyes. He smiled indifferently and slowly turned his head and walked in the other direction. Lingji's body trembled slightly. She lowered her head and followed behind Qin Bai as they turned around and left. After saying this, Jing Yu suddenly felt extremely relaxed. So what if he couldn't remember? Jing Yu had 1,000 ways to make Xiao Qin remember again. So what if he couldn't remember? "Xiao Qin, you fell in love with me once. I have a way to make you fall in love with me a second time." Jing Yu's golden-green eyes flashed with strong confidence. The corners of her mouth curved into a faint smile. She turned around and walked towards the attic where she lived. Miss you?" Qing Ru saw Jing Yu turn around and the fear in her eyes was so obvious. Chapter 1334. Qing Ru from now on. Jing Yu stared at Qing Ru seriously. "I want to know everything about Xiao Qin in the Holy Family, whether it's eating, sleeping, or going to the bathroom. I want to know everything." What's going to the bathroom?" Qing Ru gulped. "It's going to the bathroom." Jing Yu glared at Qing Ru. "Miss you?" Qing Ru's face flushed red when she heard Jing Yu's reply. She looked at Jing Yu helplessly. "But Miss Yu, the high priest is your fiancé. How can you pay attention to another man, Qin Ru? Jing Yu grabbed Qin Ru's shoulders tightly. Do you know what it's like to love someone? If you can't be with the person you love, would you be willing to be with a man you don't love at all? Qin Ru, if the high priest betrothed you to someone you don't love at all, would you be willing? Jing Yu looked at Qin Ru with tears in her eyes. Of course not. Qin Ru hurriedly said. So, Qin Ru, you definitely don't want to see me cry all day long, missing the person I love but not being able to get him, and then die without any illness, right? Jing Yu started crying again. She looked at Qin Ru pleadingly. Qin Ru, can you help me, miss you? Qin Ru looked at Jing Yu who was about to cry. She thought about what Jing Yu said and struggled internally. She finally nodded and said, okay, I'll help you. Qin Ru, I'm all alone here. It's great that you're so good to me. Jing Yu hugged Qin Ru and cried. Qin Ru patted Jing Yu's shoulders and said, Miss Yu, don't cry, I know you're feeling bad. Don't worry, I'll definitely help you. Qin Ru said, sob 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 sob. You're too nice. Jing Yu cried even louder. She covered her face and patted Qin Ru's shoulder, saying, I'll go back to the attic and wait for your good news. Remember, don't miss out on any news. Before Qin Ru could reply, she saw Jing Yu crying as she walked towards the loft. Lady Yu is so pitiful. Qin Ru sighed deeply as she looked at Jing Yu's thin figure. She then turned around to gather information. After crying for a while, Jing Yu thought that Qin Ru probably couldn't hear her anymore. She stole a glance behind her. When she saw that no one was around, she sighed deeply and wiped the saliva off her face. She couldn't help sighing in her heart. This little girl is so gullible. Jing Yu's eyes didn't even turn red. She went into the loft with a clear conscience and flipped through the books in the loft. She wanted to see if there were any books that taught her how to chase after a man. Jing Yu was very conflicted. As the saying goes, when a man pursues a woman, there's a mountain between them. When a woman pursues a man, there's a layer of gauze between them. Jing Yu was about to fulfill this life's motto. Wasn't it just chasing after a man? If there was no other way, then she'd just drug him. Sleep with this damned man. Jing Yu happily thought of all sorts of ideas. She hugged the book and reached out to eat the cake. This was an incomparable enjoyment. When Qin Ru entered the loft, she saw this scene. Chapter 1335. Miss you? Qin Ru carefully called out to Jing Yu. As she walked closer, she could hear Jing Yu humming a song. She swallowed her saliva silently and couldn't help but wonder if Jing Yu was affected by something. Aya, you're back? Jing Yu smiled brightly when she saw Qin Ru return. This smile once again stimulated Qin Ru's nerves. Qin Ru had served Jing Yu for a few months, but she had never seen Jing Yu smile so happily. Occasionally, she would see Jing Yu giggling to herself outside the window. Her golden-green eyes were filled with anticipation as she looked at the world outside. Jing Yu had become a depressed girl when she was with Qin Ru. Qin Ru could explain her slight improvement in the past few days as Jing Yu could go out without worry. But how could she explain Jing Yu's current state? Qin Ru swallowed her saliva silently and asked, Miss Yu, are you all right? Qin Ru looked at Jing Yu worriedly with a worried expression. What could happen to me? Jing Yu smiled and pulled Qin Ru's hand towards the table. She asked, how's the investigation going? Qin Ru nodded repeatedly and said, it's all clear. This servant specially made a list. Look, monsieur. The 9 emperors woke up at this time. Qin Ru took out the list as she spoke. Let me see, let me see. Jing Yu excitedly snatched it over. She carefully read the contents of the list as her lips curled into a faint smile. It even stated when Xiao Chen was in a daze. Jing Yu was extremely satisfied with the list in front of her and her face was full of smiles. Qin Ru originally wanted to introduce it, but seeing Jing Yu's expression, she could only sigh helplessly. She smiled at Jing Yu and turned to leave, closing the door behind her. Jing Yu lay on the bed and read the list line by line. She was thinking about when she should have a perfect chance encounter. As she was reading, she suddenly saw a line. Bath. Jing Yu jumped up. Her eyes lit up when she saw the time of the bath. Wasn't it now? Thinking back, Jingyu fell into Xiao Chen's bath when the house collapsed. If history were to repeat itself now, would Xiao Chen remember it even more clearly? Jingyu's heart began to beat violently as she thought about it. She quickly jumped off the bed and shouted Qing Ru's name. When Qing Ru heard Jingyu's words, her eyes were filled with shock. "Miss you? This isn't very good, right?" Qing Ru looked at the excited Jingyu and said with a conflicted expression. "What's not good about it? Quickly change your clothes." Jingyu didn't care about what Qing Ru thought. Without another word, she pulled Qing Ru to change her clothes and sneaked into Xiao Chen's bathroom. The bathroom was still empty. Clearly, Xiao Chen hadn't come yet. Jingyu nimbly flipped onto the roof and lightly jumped a few times. Damn it! This roof was really sturdy. How could it be broken? Jingyu's expression was conflicted. She sat on the roof and her eyes turned slightly. Suddenly, she thought of something and went down again. She pulled Jingyu away for a while. When she came back, she had a saw in her hand. Chapter 1336. Miss Yu, are we really going to do it? Qing Ru frowned when she saw Jingyu climb up the beam without saying a word. She stared at Jingyu and asked with a frown. Of course. Jingyu nodded resolutely and agilely climbed up the beam. She turned to Qing Ru and said, "Qing Ru, keep an eye on people. Call me if someone comes." Qing Ru nodded repeatedly. She turned around and ran out of the courtyard. She stood in front of the door with a nervous expression. She looked in from time to time and then turned to look outside the courtyard. Her heart was about to jump out of her chest. On the other side, Jingyu quickly flipped onto the beam and began to saw without saying a word. She looked at the place where the wood was connected. After determining the distance, a faint smile appeared in her eyes. Jingyu had just finished sawing when Qing Ru coughed hard. Jingyu shuddered and quickly jumped down from the beam. Lord Ninth Empress. Qing Ru stood in front of the courtyard and saw Xiao Chen calmly walking towards her from around the corner. Her eyes widened and she kept coughing. She glanced behind her and bowed to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen looked at Qing Ru indifferently. Just as he was about to walk past Qing Ru stepped forward and blocked his path. "What's the matter?" Xiao Chen frowned and asked Qing Ru. This servant wants to tell the Ninth Emperors that the hot water in the bathroom is ready. You can take a bath in peace." When Qing Ru heard Xiao Chen's question, she felt like she didn't see through him at all. Her heart trembled. She rolled her eyes and said this quietly. Then she slowly moved to the side and made way for Xiao Chen. When Xiao Chen heard Qing Ru's words, he frowned and left expressionlessly. Qing Ru looked at Xiao Chen's figure and realized that her palms were sweating. The Ninth Emperor's aura was too strong. It was even more frightening than the High Priest's. Qing Ru could only hope that Jingyu had already taken care of everything in the room. If she was caught, Jingyu's mouth twitched. When she saw Xiao Chen walk in, she immediately changed her route and ran out of the side window. The moment Jingyu left, Xiao Chen also walked in slowly. He said a few words to the guards and then walked into the bathroom alone. Jingyu took a deep breath. She tiptoed and put everything back in a secret place. She looked around and nimbly flipped onto the roof. She wasn't in a hurry to go to the bathroom's roof. Instead, she ran to another roof. She sat on the roof and waited for a while. When she thought that Xiao Chen was about to take off his clothes and enter the bath, Jingyu stood up excitedly with a faint smile in her eyes. "Xiao Chen, I'm here." Jingyu's heart was filled with excitement. Looking at the rows of roofs, Jingyu suddenly thought of the time when they were in a border city on the outskirts of the forest. Jingyu hid under his carriage in order to enter the city. Chapter 1337. However, she was discovered by this man. Then, Jingyu became a wanted criminal. Xiao Chen, this pervert, didn't he just want to pass through? Why did he have to capture a weak girl like her with such great fanfare? However, Jingyu actually collapsed the roof with her, but from this, it could be seen that the roof was extraordinarily weak. Jingyu's eyes revealed a faint smile. She thought of Xiao Chen's face when she fell into Xiao Chen's bathtub. Suddenly, the excitement in her heart became even more obvious. Let's go. Jing Yu collected her thoughts and happily jumped on the roof. She stepped on the roof and rushed towards Xiao Chen's roof. She clearly identified the location of the bathtub. Jing Yu's mouth curved into a faint smile and suddenly stepped forward with force. Aya! As expected, the beam that had been set up earlier collapsed under the weight of Jing Yu's gravity. A large hole opened up in Jing Yu's magnificent and exquisite roof, and she fell into the pool inside the house. Cough, cough, cough. Although Jing Yu knew that there was a bathtub below, in order to act more realistic, Jing Yu didn't hold her breath. She coughed and stuck her head out of the bathtub. She opened her eyes and looked at the location where she was. The water beneath her was indeed warm, but when Jing Yu looked around, she didn't see a single person. Is it fun? Just as Jing Yu was in a daze, a cold voice came from in front of her. Jing Yu was slightly startled. She looked up and saw Xiao Chen, who was originally in the bathtub, neatly dressed in a black robe. He crossed his legs and sat on a wide chair. A pair of indifferent eyes stared at Jing Yu. Why are you here? Jing Yu was completely dumbfounded. She looked at Xiao Chen's neatly dressed clothes and the place where Xiao Chen sat. It was as if he was waiting for Jing Yu to take the initiative to come to him. After hearing Jing Yu's question, Xiao Chen looked down as if he had heard a very funny joke. Jing Yu followed Xiao Chen's gaze and saw something that Jing Yu absolutely didn't want to see. It was a saw. Jing Yu looked at the saw and the corner of her mouth twitched. She raised her hand to cover her face in annoyance. She should have brought this saw to destroy the corpse. That is. Jing Yu swallowed her saliva silently and explained with difficulty, "It's a long story. Actually, it's like this, men." Xiao Chen slowly stood up. Ignoring Jing Yu's words, he looked down at Jing Yu and said, "Throw this woman out for this king." Hey, hey, hey. When Jing Yu heard Xiao Chen's merciless words, her eyes widened and she immediately screamed in horror. "I am Jing Yu. I am the saintess. You can't throw me out." "Io, can't you be gentler?" Jing Yu was thrown out of the house. Her clothes were wet and stained with grass and mud. The current Jing Yu looked like an ugly monster. What was worse was that when she saw Xiao Chen standing in front of Jing Yu in his neat clothes, Jing Yu had the urge to die. "Saintess, so what?" Xiao Chen looked at Jing Yu with disdain and said, "Get out of this king's sight." Chapter 1338. Xiao Chen. Jing Yu's eyes widened when she heard Xiao Chen's words. She stood up angrily and glared at Xiao Chen. "What do you mean by that? Have you forgotten what it was like when we first met?" Jing Yu opened her mouth to speak, but she saw Xiao Chen frown in disgust. He turned around and closed the door. Jing Yu's words were stuck in her throat and Jing Yu gritted her teeth. "Xiao Chen, you bastard! When had Jing Yu ever been treated like this?" And the person who was throwing a tantrum was actually Xiao Chen. "Let me tell you. Just you wait. I will never give up." Jing Yu stood up angrily and looked at Xiao Chen's tightly shut door. There was no sound at all. She turned around and left unwillingly. On Jing Yu's way back, the guards and maidservants looked at her strangely when they saw her covered with mud. If they were not mistaken, this person seemed to be their saintess, right? What did she do? She took a bath in a set of clothes and then rolled around in the mud? The holy maiden's taste was really unique. The guards and maids all stepped back and let Jing Yu walk forward. Although the weather wasn't cold, the wind still affected her. Moreover, she was wearing wet clothes. Achoo! In the pavilion, Jing Yu rubbed her nose and sighed deeply. "Miss Yu, quickly drink this medicine." Qing Ru looked at Jing Yu, who was wrapped in a blanket and sitting on the bed. She said helplessly, "Miss Yu, why do you have to do this? You didn't get into the good books of the 9 emperors. You even got sick." "Oh." Jing Yu took the bowl of medicine from Qing Ru. When she drank it, the bitterness of the medicine made Jing Yu frown deeply. She hurriedly grabbed a candied fruit and put it in her mouth. "I'm happy to." Jing Yu raised her hand and touched her head. She said calmly, "For him, why wouldn't I be happy, Miss Yu?" Qing Ru looked at Jing Yu and felt sorry for her. "Ayaya, my fever is almost gone." Jing Yu stood up and raised her beautiful face. She asked happily, "Qing Ru, Quickly check where Xiao Qin is. Miss Yu, you haven't fully recovered yet. Qin Ru said helplessly when she saw Jing Yu skipping over to the side. It's just a small illness. Jing Yu waved her hand carelessly and said, hurry up and tell me where Xiao Qin is. Jing Yu looked at Qin Ru anxiously. Qin Ru lowered her head helplessly when she saw the light in her eyes. At this time, royal uncle should be riding and shooting at the small dojo. Qin Ru thought for a moment and said, I heard the high priest say that the 9 emperors wanted to visit the dojo. He should be there now. Jing Yu exclaimed. How can I miss out on something like this? Hurry, help me prepare my clothes. I want to go to the dojo. As Jing Yu spoke, she went into the changing room. Qin Ru looked at the empty bowl of medicine in her hand. She opened her mouth but did not have the time to say anything. Chapter 1339. What did the Holy Family's training grounds look like? Jing Yu looked at the spacious area in front of her with surprise. She had to admit that the Holy Family's training grounds were huge. Jing Yu was only at the tip of the iceberg. At this time, Jing Yu was dressed in black, riding a horse towards the martial field step by step. Finally, she stopped at the entrance of the martial field. In the martial field, there were 2 fast horses galloping on the track, whizzing past Jing Yu in an instant. Wow! Qin Ru was standing next to the horses. She was leading Jing Yu's horse. She had also changed into simple clothes. She looked at the horses galloping away and said excitedly, Miss Yu, look, it's the high priest. Jing Yu was silent for a moment. She didn't notice Qin Bai at all. She only saw Xiao Chen on the horse. Qin Bai laughed heartily and said, the 9th emperor's horsemanship is indeed worthy of its reputation. Thank you for letting me win. Xiao Chen's expression didn't change at all. He held the reins and lowered his head slightly. His eyes were filled with indifferent emotions. High priest, the 9th emperor's, what a coincidence. Jing Yu saw the 2 stop and urged her horse forward. Jing Yu hadn't fully recovered yet. Her voice was still slightly hoarse, but her smile was incomparably bright. Holy lady, why are you here? Qin Bai had already seen Jing Yu's figure. If it weren't for Jing Yu, Qin Bai wouldn't have lost to Xiao Chen. Seeing Jing Yu approach, he smiled and responded. I was bored in the room, so I wanted to go out for a walk. I didn't expect to see you here. Jing Yu was rarely in a good mood. Her tone was very calm when she spoke to Qin Bai. Xiao Chen acted as if he didn't hear anything and walked away. 9th emperors. Jing Yu saw Xiao Chen leave and her heart trembled. She called out, successfully stopping Xiao Chen in his tracks. I saw you and the high priest competing in horsemanship. Are you interested in having a match with me? Jing Yu's golden-green eyes sparkled. She smiled at Xiao Chen and said, What? Are you afraid of the 9th emperors? I don't bully women. Xiao Chen was silent for a moment. Then he looked at Jing Yu and said, But holy lady, you have the ability to change your pupils. You're an exception. What? Jing Yu was stunned when she heard Xiao Chen's reply. Xiao Chen was saying that she wasn't a woman. What the hell? Please. Xiao Chen reined in his horse and turned it around. He stood at the starting line and looked at Jing Yu with an emotionless gaze. That unfamiliar gaze made Jing Yu's expression change slightly. 9th emperors, don't let your guard down. Qin Bai looked at the interaction between the 2. He narrowed his eyes and said, The power of the ability to change your pupils is no joke. Xiao Chen smiled coldly. He turned his head away without another word. After the 3rd shout, the 2 horses charged forward and galloped on the track. The wind blew at Jing Yu's hair. Jing Yu's eyes sparkled. She looked at Xiao Chen. She looked at Xiao Chen's fluttering hair. She looked at his tightly pursed lips. She looked at Xiao Chen's cold eyes. She couldn't see herself in his eyes. It was so sad. Chapter 1340. Hiya! Jing Yu turned her head and lowered her body slightly. No matter how fast Xiao Chen sped up, Jing Yu was always able to keep up with Xiao Chen. After 3 or 4 times, Xiao Chen frowned slightly. Jing Yu saw Xiao Chen's frown and a faint smile appeared in her eyes. She looked at Qin Bai, Qin Ru, and the others who were getting farther and farther away. Her eyes flickered slightly. Xiao Chen suddenly realized that he had lost control of the horse under him. Kneel! Jing Yu's hands suddenly tightened on the reins. As Jing Yu's clear voice fell, the horse under Xiao Chen suddenly gave a long cry and knelt on the ground under Xiao Chen's slightly surprised gaze. Because the horse suddenly knelt down, Xiao Chen lost his balance and fell to the ground. He was in a sorry state when he fell to the ground. Jing Yu sat on the horse and laughed loudly when she saw Xiao Chen fall to the ground. Haha! Jing Yu looked at Xiao Chen with eyes full of laughter. Her clear laughter traveled to Xiao Chen's ears. Xiao Chen raised his head slightly to look at Jing Yu. He saw the woman in black sitting on a horse under the sunlight. Her smile was so bright and moving. Her curved eyebrows seemed to make the sky pale in comparison at this moment. Xiao Chen, this is the price you have to pay for throwing me out. Jing Yu's golden-green eyes stared at Xiao Chen. Her face was full of pride. She raised her head and snorted coldly. Ninth Emperors, you can walk back by yourself. Go. Jing Yu raised her hand and shouted. The horse that had knelt down stood up and quickly galloped away under Xiao Chen's gaze. Xiao Chen's face darkened slightly. He stood up and casually patted the dirt off his body. Ninth Emperors, take your time. I'll go first. Jing Yu's eyes curved slightly as she said this with a smile. She turned her horse around and was about to leave. But just as Jing Yu was about to turn and leave, Xiao Chen suddenly walked quickly towards Jing Yu. Before Jing Yu could swing her whip, Xiao Chen suddenly flipped onto the back of her horse. He grabbed Jing Yu's waist with one hand and took the reins from Jing Yu's hand. Before Jing Yu could react, she suddenly swung the reins and shouted, Hiya! Aya! Xiao Chen's series of actions were extremely fast. When the horse started galloping, Jing Yu's body trembled violently and she almost fell off her seat. With a look of astonishment on her face, Jing Yu turned her head slightly to look back. What she saw was Xiao Chen's expressionless side profile. His firm lines were so cold, and his pair of cold eyes were so moving. Once upon a time, Jing Yu had also sat in his embrace. But at that time, Xiao Chen would lower his head and look at her with a gentle gaze. The smell in her nose was the same, and the temperature of the hand holding her waist was the same. Why was Xiao Chen different? Jing Yu's eyes trembled slightly. For a moment, her heart was filled with mixed feelings. The road was obviously very long, but to Jing Yu, they arrived at their destination in an instant. Xiao Chen released Jing Yu the moment they reached their destination and jumped off the horse. After Xiao Chen jumped off the horse, Qin Bai, who was standing at the side, looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen with a slightly different gaze. He carefully sized up their expressions as if to confirm something. Chapter 1341. However, Xiao Chen didn't say a word. He just stared coldly at Jing Yu and said, "The power of the otherworldly pupils truly lives up to its reputation. This king has truly witnessed it today." After Xiao Chen finished speaking, he bowed slightly to Qin Bai and left. Qin Bai watched Xiao Chen leave and frowned slightly. He then turned to look at Jing Yu. Jing Yu's face was slightly pale as she stared at Xiao Chen's departing figure. Only when Xiao Chen's figure disappeared did Jing Yu retract her gaze. "Jing Yu? What's wrong with you?" Qin Bai looked at Jing Yu's swaying figure and frowned slightly. He looked at Jing Yu and asked, "What did you put in my food?" Jing Yu raised her hand and covered her chest tightly. "You used the otherworldly pupils?" Qin Bai's expression instantly changed. Jing Yu slowly closed her eyes and fell from the horse's back. Qin Bai rushed forward and caught Jing Yu, who was about to fall. His eyes were filled with shock and anger. "Men!" Qin Bai's angry roar reverberated throughout the martial field. Qin Ru rushed over with a look of panic on her face. Jing Yu hadn't recovered from her illness and was now unconscious. Jing Yu was lying quietly on the bed in the loft. Qin Bai supported his head with his hands and stood guard by the bed. His eyes were slightly closed and he didn't speak. "High Priestess, you must be tired from the day. Go and rest. This servant will take care of the saintess." Qin Ru looked at Qin Bai standing guard by the bed and couldn't bear it. She stepped forward and bowed slightly to Qin Bai. "No need. Qin Bai slowly opened his eyes and looked at Qin Ru. He asked, "How is the matter this sovereign asked you to investigate? Who put the saintess's food? Didn't this sovereign already order the saintess to stop taking all her medicine? This servant doesn't know." When Qin Ru heard Qin Bai's words, she hurriedly knelt on the ground and looked at Qin Bai in panic. She said, "This servant already stopped the medicine when the high priestess said that it wasn't necessary. But I don't know why." Qin Bai's expression changed slightly when he heard Qin Ru's words. He frowned and said, "When did the saintess fall sick? What to her medicine?" "The saintess caught the cold yesterday." "The medicine." Qin Ru's words. Jing Yu's words. Jing to the end, this medicine was to the side. Jing Yu the medicine. "Give it to me." Qin Bai waved at Qin Ru. He took the medicine bowl from Qin Ru's hands. His eyes looked very serious. He bent down and sniffed the medicine bowl. He tried to identify it. His face changed. "Clang! Bastard!" Qin Bai suddenly threw the medicine bowl on the ground. The crisp sound shocked everyone in the room and they hurriedly knelt on the ground. "Who is it? How dare you? How dare you drug the saintess?" Qin Bai's expression turned icy cold. The medicine that was thrown on the ground flowed all over the floor. Everyone in the room panicked. "How are you taking care of the saintess? Someone come." After Qin Bai's cold words, the people who were kneeling on the ground screamed in shock. "Take these people out and punish them with 30 strikes. Chapter 1342. "High Priest, please spare our lives." Everyone cried out in alarm. Cough, cough. Just as Qin Bai was about to give the order, Qin Bai suddenly coughed softly behind him. When Qin Bai heard this sound, he hurriedly stood up. When he turned around, he saw that Jing Yu had already woken up. "I'm so thirsty." Jing Yu clutched her chest and sat up. When she saw the room full of kneeling people, she frowned slightly. "Why are you all kneeling here, Jing Yu? How are you? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" Qin Bai hurriedly took a cup from the side and handed it to Jing Yu as he asked. Jing Yu looked at the cup of water that Qin Bai handed over and her expression changed. She frowned slightly but still reached out to take the cup from Qin Bai's hand. She pursed her lips and took a sip. After moistening her throat, she felt much better. "What are they doing?" Jing Yu's gaze finally landed on the people kneeling on the ground. She frowned unhappily and said, "Why are you all kneeling? Get up." "Holy Lady, we servants." Qin Ru's eyes were red as she looked at Jing Yu. She wanted to say something but didn't. Jing Yu's frown deepened. She turned to look at Qin Bai and said strangely, "Don't tell me you're pushing the blame for me fainting to them. I say, Qin Bai, are you a man or not?" When Qin Bai heard Jing Yu's question, his expression changed instantly. The corners of his mouth twitched violently as he said, "Their responsibility is to take care of you. However, they didn't do a good job and deserve to be punished." "No way." Jing Yu didn't even think about it and rejected him flatly. She said, "They are my people. I'm the one who has the final say in the punishment." "Jing Yu?" When Qin Bai heard Jing Yu's words, he was stunned for a moment. Then he shook his head as if he found it funny and said, "You're protecting them like this. They are all members of the Holy Family." When Jing Yu heard Qin Bai's words, she stopped breathing for a moment. Then she frowned and said, "I don't care. I won't allow it. Besides, if you didn't drug my food, would I be like this?" "It wasn't me." Qin Bai looked at Jing Yu and said, "I'll find out who it is. You haven't recovered yet. Rest well." "It's not you?" Jing Yu looked up at Qin Bai, who stood up. She was slightly surprised and then frowned slightly. Qin Bai responded and didn't say anything to Jing Yu. Instead, he turned around and left. "Take good care of the Holy Lady. If anything happens to her again, I won't let her off easily," Qin Bai said and left. Jing Yu looked at Qin Bai's back and fell into deep thought. If it wasn't Qin Bai who drugged her, then who could it be? One must know that Jing Yu was incomparably familiar with this medicine. Ever since she was brought to the saint race, it wasn't that she hadn't thought of using her other pupils to escape. But why did this damned holy family have so many strange methods to suppress her different pupils? For example, when Qin was with Jingyu in the holy family, he put some in her food every day. As a result, Jingyu couldn't use her different pupils at all. In serious cases, she would be in a coma for a period of time. Jingyu had been controlled by Qin during that time. That was why she could only sit in the room and not go anywhere. She had gone on a hunger strike because she wanted her other pupils to recover. But Chapter 1343. Even if she starved to death, it was unlikely that her pupils would recover unless she took the antidote and stopped using it. When Qin released Jingyu, Jingyu's pupils were no longer suppressed. But now, Jingyu had fainted once again. This feeling was so familiar. Obviously, it was caused by her different pupils. Jingyu didn't know what Qin had gone to do, but Jingyu's illness attracted another person. In Jingyu's opinion, Jingyu wasn't sick at all. She just caught a cold. How could that be considered an illness? Moreover, Jingyu had only slept for a while, so she was leisurely reading a book on the bed with her legs crossed. She didn't look like a patient at all. While Jingyu was peacefully recuperating, a person unexpected to Jingyu came. Jingyu was engrossed in reading the story, but she still heard the sound of the door opening. When the door opened, Jingyu didn't even turn her head and said loudly, "Qingru, the tea is cold. Bring me some pastries too." After Jingyu called out, Jingyu clearly heard the footsteps coming into the room pause. Then, just when Jingyu thought that the footsteps would turn away, they didn't. The footsteps were still coming in Jingyu's direction. "Qingru, didn't you hear me?" Jingyu frowned slightly. She finally turned her head and looked at the person who had come. It was Jingyu, who had messy hair and was wearing an undergarment. She was barefooted and had her legs crossed. She did not look presentable at all. The moment she turned her head, she was dumbfounded. The man in black was standing by the bed with his hands behind his back. He was staring at Jingyu with his pitch-black eyes, but his expression was calm. He saw Jingyu's eyes widen. Then, under Xiao Chen's gaze, she suddenly sat up. "Xiao Chen, why are you here?" Jingyu saw Xiao Chen and silently reached out to smooth her messy hair. Then she grinned and asked Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen looked at Jingyu and was silent for half a minute. Then, he calmly said, "I heard that the holy lady was sick, so this king came to take a look. But, it doesn't seem to be the case?" Jingyu's expression froze for a moment. Then, she swallowed her saliva and hurriedly burrowed under the covers. With a pained expression on her face, she said, I'm sick. It's so uncomfortable." Xiao Chen's mouth twitched imperceptibly when he saw the change in Jingyu's expression. Then, before Jingyu could tell what was going on, Xiao Chen turned around to leave without hesitation. "Xiao Chen." When Jingyu saw that Xiao Chen was about to leave, she hurriedly lifted the covers and stepped onto the floor barefooted. Then she reached out and grabbed onto Xiao Chen's sleeve. With a pleading look in her eyes, she said, "Can you sit for a while before you leave?" Xiao Chen heard her soft voice. Her soft and slender hand caused his body to stiffen. His expression changed, and he flung Jingyu's hand away. Then, he turned to look coldly at Jingyu and said, "Holy lady, you should rest well." With that, Xiao Chen ignored Jingyu's expression and walked away. Jingyu's body froze on the spot. She slowly lowered her hand. When Xiao Chen flung her hand away, Jingyu's heart ached. Chapter 1344. Jingyu stood in front of the window and stared at the departing figure. He was dressed in black and looked so lonely and cold. Looking at Xiao Chen, Jingyu suddenly understood. That person was the 9th emperors. The 9th emperors that everyone spoke of, the 9th emperors that no one could enter his heart. That person wasn't her Xiao Chen. "Miss you. Why are you up by yourself?" When Qingru stepped into the room, she saw Jingyu standing in front of the window in her thin underwear. She quickly put down the food in her hands and ran towards Jingyu. "Why do I feel like I'm especially cheap right now?" Jingyu suddenly muttered to herself. Her eyes flashed with self-mockery. Qingru looked at Jingyu and frowned in confusion. She looked at Jingyu and blinked in confusion. "But I'm so hungry. I want to eat." Qingru was about to ask Jingyu what she meant when Jingyu suddenly broke into a big smile. She walked towards the table and shouted, "It smells so good. Miss Yu, why aren't you wearing shoes again?" Qingru heard Jingyu's call and lowered her head to look at Jingyu's barefoot appearance. Her eyes were filled with displeasure as she said, "Hurry and put on your shoes. You haven't fully recovered yet." It's fine, it's fine." Jingyu smiled and ate the food on the table as she waved her hand nonchalantly. Jingyu's illness lasted for 2 to 3 days. Qinbai didn't know what to do during these few days. On the first day that Jingyu recovered, she asked about Xiao Chen's whereabouts again and created some strange coincidental encounters. For example, when Xiao Chen was walking along the corridor, Jingyu would suddenly walk out from a corner. She would then calmly smile at Xiao Chen and say, "What a coincidence, you're here too." Every time this happened, Jingyu could see the corners of Xiao Dao's eyes twitch violently. Then, without saying a word, he walked around Jingyu expressionlessly and left quickly. Or, when Xiao Chen was eating, Jingyu would suddenly appear and say that she had walked here and smelled the fragrance. The 9 emperors wouldn't refuse to give her the honor of eating here, right? Jingyu wouldn't wait for Xiao Chen's reply and immediately sat down to eat. At this time, Xiao Chen would silently put down his chopsticks and return to the room. He didn't plan to come out again. Jingyu shamelessly pestered him. Because of her identity as Jingyu, Xiao Chen couldn't do anything other than throw Jingyu out. Today was the same as before. Xiao Chen walked along the corridor step by step. This was already the 5th path that Xiao Chen had taken. He had no idea how Jingyu was able to find his location so accurately. Xiao Chen's only hope was that Jingyu wouldn't be able to find her way today. However, when Xiao Chen took his 10th step, Xiao Chen knew that his hopes were dashed again. What a coincidence! Jingyu rushed out from the side door and smiled at Xiao Chen. "9th Emperors, we meet again." Jingyu thought that this time, Xiao Chen would definitely walk past her like before. Therefore, Jingyu even made way for him. However, Jingyu stood in place and realized that Xiao Chen didn't leave. Chapter 1345. Yeah, what a coincidence. Xiao Chen looked at Jingyu and replied faintly. Huh? Jingyu's eyes widened when she heard Xiao Chen's words. She was stunned for a long time and couldn't react to Xiao Chen's words. Jingyu blinked her eyes and looked at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen looked at Jingyu expressionlessly. Finally, Jingyu swallowed her saliva silently and stared at Xiao Chen with uncertainty. "Xiao Chen, you didn't forget to take your medicine today, right?" Xiao Chen's face darkened when he heard Jingyu's words. "How long do you intend to follow this king?" Xiao Chen stared coldly at Jingyu and asked. "Ah." Jingyu opened her mouth and swallowed her saliva before replying, "No. I'm not following you." Jingyu giggled and looked at Xiao Chen. "Oh, is that so?" Xiao Chen curled his lips in disdain and turned to leave. Jingyu looked at Xiao Chen's back view in confusion. "So, Xiao Chen stopped me just to ask me this. What does he mean?" Jingyu was completely confused by Xiao Chen's actions. "Oh, isn't this the holy maiden?" Just as Jingyu was standing there with a puzzled expression, a fiery red figure walked leisurely towards Jingyu. That frivolous tone pulled Jingyu back to reality. Pestering Xiao Chen again? Nailin Yu stood in front of Jingyu and looked at Jingyu mockingly. "Xiao Chen doesn't even want to talk to you. Jingyu, you're really shameless." Jingyu's face darkened. She looked at Nailin Yu indifferently and said, "No matter how shameless I am, I'm still better than you." "Ah." Nailin Yu smiled in disdain and said, "Jingyu, I'll tell you the truth. When Xiao Chen returns from the Holy Family, he'll marry me. As for you, no one remembers the once popular 9th Imperial concubine." "What did you say?" Jingyu's heart trembled. She frowned and looked at Nailin Yu coldly. "You don't remember me? I don't believe that Xiao Chen won't remember me. I don't believe that the entire world won't remember me." "Ha!" Nailin Yu's face changed. She walked towards Jingyu step by step and said in a cold voice, "Jingyu, do you think I'll let you leave the Holy Family?" "Nailin Yu." Jingyu's face turned cold as she stared at Nailin Yu. She slowly opened her mouth and asked, "Xiao Chen became like this because of you, didn't you? Who knows? Nailin Yu shrugged nonchalantly. She glanced at Nailin Yu, then turned and left in the direction Xiao Chen had left. Jing Yu stood in place, and her expression gradually turned cold. Nailin Yu walked down the hallway towards Xiao Chen's residence. She looked at Jing Yu's angry face and smiled. She calmly turned around and left. Her guards followed behind her. Xiao Chen was sitting in his room, reading a book when he heard Nailin Yu's voice coming from outside his room. Xiao Chen frowned as he watched Nailin Yu walk towards him. He looked at Nailin Yu, who was walking towards him. What's the matter? Xiao Chen looked at Nailin Yu and asked. Chapter 1346. Can't I come and see you if I have nothing to do? Nailin Yu looked at Xiao Chen's expression and pouted unhappily. She looked at Xiao Chen and clicked her tongue. Xiao Chen didn't respond to Nailin Yu's expression. He lowered his head and continued to read his book, ignoring Nailin Yu. Seeing Xiao Chen like this, Nailin Yu felt a little angry in her heart. However, she calmly suppressed it. She sat up and said, Xiao Chen, shouldn't we go? The Holy Family doesn't seem to want to help us, so why are we still here? When Xiao Chen heard Nailin Yu's words, he slowly put down his hand. He narrowed his eyes and said, The Holy Family didn't directly agree to cooperate with us, but Qin Bai clearly has such thoughts. Is that so? Nailin Yu's eyes turned slightly. She looked at Xiao Chen and said, Xiao Chen? You're insisting on staying here. It can't be because of Jing Yu, right? When Xiao Chen heard Nailin Yu's sudden change in topic, he frowned and calmly said, You're overthinking it. Nailin Yu covered her mouth and laughed. She looked at Xiao Chen and said, I was just saying it casually. Look at how nervous you are. Nailin Yu looked at Xiao Chen as she said this. Her dark eyes stared at Xiao Chen as if she was examining him. When she saw that Xiao Chen didn't even look at her after hearing her words, she let out a sigh of relief. She seemed to be talking to herself as she said, I just met Jing Yu on the road. You should have met her too, right? I heard some things. Don't take offense. Nailin Yu lowered her eyes and played with the teacup in her hand. She didn't care if Xiao Chen was listening or not. She slowly said, I heard Jing Yu say that she wants to marry you and that she doesn't want you. When Xiao Chen heard Nailin Yu's words, he frowned and didn't say anything. Xiao Chen, you know that the reason we came to the Holy Family is to cooperate with the Holy Family. Nailin Yu continued, the Holy Maiden is the fiancée of the High Priest. If the High Priest knows about this, will it affect us? Or, is the Holy Maiden trying to sabotage our cooperation? Nailin Yu continued, I don't have any other intentions. I just feel that the Holy Maiden is doing this to please you. Or, does she have other motives? Nailin Yu slowly stood up. She seemed to be joking as she calmly said, maybe the Holy Maiden is just feeling something new? But the Holy Maiden is really persistent. She knows that she will marry the High Priest in the future, yet she still throws herself at another man. I don't know. Has something similar happened before? Nailin Yu covered her mouth and smiled. She looked at Xiao Chen and said, the 9th Emperor's is so outstanding. No wonder the Holy Maiden can't control herself. Xiao Chen, you rest well. I'll be leaving first. Nailin Yu smiled at Xiao Chen and said, I believe that the 9th Emperor's is so outstanding. He definitely won't be seduced by the Holy Maiden. If he ruins our cooperation, don't blame me. After Nailin Yu finished speaking, she didn't care if Xiao Chen heard her or not. She walked away. When the fiery red figure disappeared from the room, Xiao Chen slowly raised his head. His handsome face still had a cold expression. Chapter 1347. However, within that pair of dark eyes, there seemed to be a hint of gloominess. Nailin Yu walked out of the courtyard. She stood in front of the door and slightly raised her head to look into the courtyard. Her eyes revealed a faint smile. The corners of her mouth curled up into a smile that made people's hair stand on end. Is everything ready? Nailin Yu's expression didn't change at all. She turned her head and asked the guard beside her. Yes, everything is ready. The guard bowed and nodded. The people over there are also ready. Nailin Yu slowly nodded and curled her lips as if she was interested. She said, "The people around Xiaochen have all been arranged. Although Xiaochen doesn't remember anything right now, there are always accidents. And I don't want to see this accident happen." Nailin Yu turned her head and looked at the guard. She coldly said, "Do you understand?" "Yes, this subordinate understands." The guard quickly lowered his head and replied, "It's good that you understand." Nailin Yu turned her head and said, "Send a message to Madame Nye and tell her what happened here." The guard respectfully complied. Nailin Yu expressionlessly turned around and walked away. The guard behind her didn't say a word. What the two of them had said at the entrance of the courtyard, no one knew what they were talking about. When Jingyu returned to the pavilion, she was surprised to see the person waiting inside. He was dressed in black and was sitting at the table. He was drinking tea from a teacup in his hand. When he saw Jingyu return, he slowly put down the teacup in his hand. "Qinbai? Why are you here again?" Jingyu's expression wasn't good and her tone was cold. Qinbai furrowed his brows. It wasn't easy for Qinbai to feel that their relationship had improved a bit. How did it become like this now? "You went to find Xiaochen again?" Qinbai looked at Jingyu's tidy clothes and calmly pursed his lips. He looked at Jingyu and asked. His tone wasn't questioning, but rather determined. Who else could make Jingyu treat him so seriously aside from Xiaochen? "What does it have to do with you?" Jingyu rolled her eyes and sat down on a chair with an unhappy expression. "I told you a long time ago that Xiaochen doesn't remember you anymore." Qinbai looked at Jingyu's expression and lightly said. Jingyu frowned and didn't say anything. Then her eyes suddenly widened as if she thought of something. She turned her head and stared at Qinbai and said, "How did you know a long time? You know what happened to Xiaochen, right?" "Qinbai, did you do it? What did you do to Xiaochen?" Jingyu suddenly stood up and stared at Qinbai with a pair of cold eyes. The murderous intent in the depths of her eyes made Qinbai's face darken inch by inch. As expected, Qinbai looked at Jingyu calmly and expressionlessly. Seeing Jingyu's anxious expression, he slowly said, "I didn't do anything. If you want to know what happened, then investigate it yourself." Qinbai stood up and looked at Jingyu with his pitch-black eyes. "I didn't do anything other than bring you back. It's up to you to believe it or not," Qinbai said and turned to leave. Chapter 1348. Although Qinbai didn't say anything, Jingyu could clearly sense that something wasn't right. Qinbai said that he only brought Jingyu back and didn't do anything, but he didn't express anything. After he took Jingyu away, no one else did anything. During that battle, the Poison Sect and the Holy Family weren't the only ones present. Miaojiang and the Sound Attack clan were also present. So what happened after that? Jingyu's mind was in a mess. She felt like she was about to catch on to some clues, but every time she thought of this, she couldn't remember anything. She had been controlled at the time. What did she do? What happened? She couldn't remember. Why was it like this? Jingyu sat in front of the window with her mind in a mess. When Qin Ru entered the room, this was the scene she saw. Seeing Jingyu's worried expression, Qin Ru was filled with worry. "Miss you?" Qin Ru called out. Jingyu slowly turned her head. "What's wrong?" Jingyu returned to her senses and asked Qin Ru calmly. "Miss you, the Holy Lord has invited you to the main heart pavilion." Qin Ru bowed her head slightly to Jingyu as she spoke to Jingyu. "Yun Wei Jun?" When Jingyu heard Qin Ru's words, she was a little surprised. Then she nodded slightly to show that she understood. She lowered her head and asked, "When? Help me get ready to dress up." Qin Ru bowed in response. Jingyu changed into a set of light clothes and followed Qin Ru to the main heart pavilion. The main heart pavilion was where the Holy Lord lived. It was Jingyu's first time here, but she was surprised to find that the decorations here were very similar to where Jingyu lived. Yun Weijuan's maid led Jingyu to the second floor of the pavilion. Yun Weijun sat by the window of the pavilion. The large floor-to-ceiling window had a very small table with a bamboo curtain covering half of it. Jingyu sat in front of Yun Weijun. Her eyes moved slightly as she looked at the scenery around her. It was very elegant. "Try the tea in my main heart pavilion." Yun Wei-jun said as she pushed the tea on the table in Jing Yu's direction. Thank you. Jing Yu lowered her head and said. She raised her hand and picked up the teacup in front of her. She took a sip lightly. It was really good tea. The fragrance lingered in her mouth, making Jing Yu's eyes lit up slightly. It is really good tea. Jing Yu didn't know how to taste tea, but such a fragrant tea still made Jing Yu sigh in admiration. The high priest gave it to me. After hearing Jing Yu's praise, Yun Wei-jun smiled faintly as if she was showing off. She said, I haven't been willing to drink it for so many years. Then why did you take it out to drink today? Jing Yu slowly put down the teacup in her hand. She looked at Yun Wei-jun, who had taken off her formal clothes and was now wearing simple clothes. Her eyes curved slightly as she said, Holy Lord, if you have something to say, just say it. Jing Yu. Yun Wei-jun also slowly put down the things in her hand and looked up at Jing Yu carefully. Jing Yu nodded in response. Looking at Yun Wei-jun's clear eyes, Jing Yu seemed to know that what Yun Wei-jun was going to say next must be very important. Chapter 1349. Can you give me Qinbai? Yun Wei-jun stared at Jing Yu for a long time. Finally, she stared at Jing Yu with difficulty and said, I can give you the Holy Family, but can you give me Qinbai? Holy Master? Jing Yu heard Yun Wei-jun's words and her eyes flashed with surprise. But Yun Wei-jun lowered her head slightly. She seemed to find it difficult to speak. Do you know that I have always hoped that you were not alive, or that you would never be found? Yun Wei-jun's eyes showed bitterness. She clenched her hands slightly and said, If you were not here, then everything that belongs to you would be mine. You see. Yun Wei-jun raised her head slightly and looked around the main pavilion. She said, This place should have been yours. You are the Holy Lady of the Holy Family, the future Holy Master. But I took your position and lived in your residence. The Holy Lady's destined person is the High Priest. Yun Wei-jun looked deeply at Jing Yu and said, If it were not for you, I, as the acting Holy Master, could inherit this position openly. I would not have been able to marry the High Priest as I wished. Jing Yu, do you know how much I want you to die? Yun Wei-jun said and turned to look at Jing Yu. She looked into Jing Yu's eyes. The fierceness in her eyes was so serious, but Jing Yu felt a deep sadness in her eyes. But I can't. Yun Wei-jun's hands tightly grasped her sleeves. Jing Yu, I saw it. Yun Wei-jun's dark eyes stared at Jing Yu and said, I saw the future of the Holy Family. If I kill you, the Holy Family will be destroyed in my hands. So I can't kill you. Qinbai can't kill you. I can't let the Holy Family be destroyed. This is the place that Qinbai wants to protect. Yun Wei-jun's eyes showed a pleading look. She stared at Jing Yu and said, But I want to beg you. Jing Yu, can I beg you, give me Qinbai? Yun Wei-jun had always been a high and mighty person, but now she was like a weak woman. She begged Jing Yu in a low voice. The look in her eyes shocked Jing Yu. Hearing Yun Wei-jun's words, Jing Yu was confused for a moment. Did she see it? What did she see? Could Yun Wei-jun also predict the future? You guessed right. Yun Wei-jun seemed to see Jing Yu's confusion. Yun Wei-jun nodded slowly and said, My relationship with the High Priest is actually that of brother and sister. Back then I followed my master, the previous High Priest, to learn from him. Qinbai's ability was outstanding and he didn't show any weakness. But when I learned that Qinbai wanted to be the High Priest, I hid my talent and watched him ascend to the position of High Priest. No one knows. I can also predict the future. No one knows. My ability is no worse than the High Priest's. Yun Wei-jun looked at Jing Yu quietly and said, From the day I saw you, I knew you were different. Yun Wei-jun said, looking at Jing Yu with a different gaze. Jing Yu's matter had spread throughout the sacred race a long time ago, and Yun Wei-jun had indeed divined the fate of the heavens, but it was very vague. Chapter 1350. The fate of the Holy Family was sometimes good and sometimes bad, which made Yun Wei-jun very worried. Until that day. She stood in front of the gate of the Holy Family and saw Qin Bai walk in with Jingyu in his arms. Yun Weijun knew everything the moment she saw the pale woman sleeping in his arms. The fate of the Holy Family was on her. Whether it was destruction or prosperity, it was all on her. Yun Weijun knew that Jingyu couldn't die. Jingyu, do you understand what I mean? Yun Weijun stared at Jingyu. There were some words that couldn't be said. Jingyu listened to Yun Weijun's words and sighed deeply. She said, Holy Master, I've never thought of competing with you for Qin Bai. As for the position of the Holy Master. Jingyu's lips curled in disdain as she said coldly, Do you know what I said back then? The Holy Family will be destroyed by me, Jingyu. Such a holy family, I don't want it. Jingyu's eyes were full of anger. Jingyu's heart was filled with scenes of the past. Her father's tragic death was still in front of her. How could Jingyu be reconciled? Jingyu. Yun Weijun hurriedly said, I know you had a lot of hatred with the Holy Family. I promise it won't happen again. As for the murderers who hurt your family, I can give you this right. Whatever you want to do to them, I won't ask a single word. Yun Weijun looked at Jingyu and said slowly, In the future, no one in the Holy Family will spread anything to the outside world. But I have a request. Yun Weijun stared at Jingyu and said, I want you to die. I mean fake death. Yun Weijun looked at Jingyu and said, As long as your death is confirmed, the Holy Family will really have no holy lady. I can sit in the position of the Holy Master and the High Priest will definitely marry me. Jingyu, at that time, you will have nothing to do with the Holy Family and can live a carefree life. What do you think? Yun Weijun looked at Jingyu and said, Don't you always want to leave? Then you can go. After hearing Yun Weijun's words, Jingyu slowly fell silent. You don't have to answer in a hurry. I can wait. I can wait for you to think about it. Yun Weijun looked at Jingyu and said firmly. Jingyu had to admit that Yun Weijun's words did move Jingyu, but she still had some concerns in her heart. No one knew the conversation between Jingyu and Yun Weijun today. After Jingyu returned to her attic, she fell into a dilemma. The Holy Family was a poisonous thorn in Jingyu's heart. In Jingyu's heart, as long as the Holy Family was not destroyed, Jingyu would not feel at ease. But after being in the Holy Family for so long, Jingyu vaguely felt that what the Holy Family had done before was the fault of the elders and senior members. They should not vent their anger on the common people, such as Qingru and the servants. But it was hard to eliminate the hatred in Jingyu's heart if she let the Holy Family go so easily. Thinking of this, the look in Jingyu's eyes froze again. She took a deep breath and lowered her head. Jingyu did not trouble Xiaoqin for 2 days. In these 2 days, Xiaoqin still changed the route, but he did not see Jingyu's figure, which surprised him. Walking in the corridor, Xiaoqin could not help but think of what Nailinyu said that day. Chapter 1351. Did Jingyu really have a motive for doing this? Xiaoqin frowned slightly. When he returned to his room to eat, he looked at the table full of food. As he ate, he suddenly thought of Jingyu, who had rushed in without a care in the world. She had said that she had come in because she had smelled the aroma. Jingyu was probably the only one who could come up with such a lousy excuse. In the end, she had completely ignored him and continued to eat her favorite dishes. Xiaoqin seemed to see Jingyu eating in big mouthfuls of food. A faint smile appeared in his eyes. This smile only appeared for a moment. Xiaoqin's body suddenly trembled violently. Just now, why did he have such a familiar feeling? It was so familiar that Xiaoqin felt so strange. Xiaoqin thought carefully. It seemed that the feeling had disappeared. The chopsticks in his hand were slightly tightened, but he could not bring himself to eat the food. Xiaoqin slowly put down the bowl and chopsticks in his hand and took a deep breath. Sir? The guard waiting on the side looked at Xiaoqin's chopsticks. He had not eaten much of the food. I'm not eating. Remove it. Xiaoqin slowly stood up and said these words with a cold expression. He turned and entered the room. The guard looked at Xiaoqin's departing figure and frowned slightly. He wondered if the food today was not to his taste. It was rare that the holy maiden did not come to make trouble these days. Why did the ninth emperors not eat? The guard looked conflicted. However, when he saw Xiao Chen's cold expression as he entered the room, he did not ask. Jingyu had been thinking deeply about Yun Weijuan's words in the room for the past few days. Then, a piece of news came that surprised Jingyu. It said that the high priest had accepted a disciple. A disciple from the people was very likely to be the next high priest. Jingyu was surprised to hear that they were going to hold a banquet. However, from what Yun Weijun said, didn't the high priest choose the next high priest from the high priest's children? How did they find it from the common folk? Just because Qin Bai was not married yet? But there was no need to be in such a hurry, right? Although Jingyu was puzzled, it didn't seem to have anything to do with her. The apprenticeship ceremony and banquet were in 5 days. These days, Jingyu had been thinking about it but couldn't come up with a solution. She simply stopped thinking about it. Now, the main problem was still Xiao Chen. Qingru, where are my clothes? Early in the morning, Jingyu once again yelled out. What clothes? Qingru hurriedly appeared in front of Jingyu. Jingyu glared at Qingru and said, "What other clothes could it be? Naturally, it's the clothes I'm going to wear today." You're going out today? Qingru said as she rummaged through the wardrobe. Of course. Where is the ninth emperor's now? Jingyu asked as she changed her clothes. Miss Yu, you're still going to find the ninth emperor's? Qingru's hand that was holding the clothes paused. She looked at Jingyu with a conflicted expression and said, I thought you had thought it through after so many days. Why haven't you given up yet? You little girl, what are you saying? Jingyu glared at Qingru unhappily and said, This is my man. No matter what, I have to get him. Chapter 1352. Miss Yu. Qingru said helplessly, The 9 emperors aren't interested in you at all. Why do you have to trouble yourself to pester him and look at his face? Even this servant feels sorry for you. I don't think so. Jingyu straightened her clothes and turned to look at Qingru with a brilliant smile. I think, even if Xiao Chen doesn't remember me, there's nothing wrong with pestering him for the rest of my life. When Qingru heard Jingyu's words, a trace of surprise appeared on her face. She couldn't understand how much willpower and emotion could make Jingyu so determined. Jingyu used the same trick again and hid at the side of the corridor. As she waited, she carefully listened to the sound of footsteps coming from the corridor. As she listened to the sound of the footsteps getting closer and closer, Jingyu's lips curled into a brilliant smile. Xiao Chen, what a coincidence. Jingyu turned around beautifully and said this sentence. That perfect little face and that incomparably familiar voice. Everything seemed so perfect. But, who are you? Jingyu looked at the small figure in front of her and was instantly stunned. The person standing in front of Jingyu was about 15 or 16 years old. She had a pretty face, but her pair of dark eyes were quietly looking at Jingyu. Behind her was a guard, and she was dressed very respectfully. Sacred lady. Before Jingyu could react, she saw the child in front of her frown slightly and blink her eyes. She looked at Jingyu and accurately called out the 2 words. Hey, I'm not asking who I am, I'm asking who you are. Jingyu relaxed her shoulders in annoyance. After waiting for so long, the person she was waiting for wasn't Xiao Chen. Really? Jingyu waved her hand impatiently and said, Forget it, I don't want to know who you are. Hurry up and leave. What a waste of the group beating expression. Jingyu said as she turned around and went back behind the pillar. The boy saw Jingyu's series of actions and heard Jingyu's words. His mouth twitched violently as he watched Jingyu hide behind the pillar again. The man slowly walked over and stood in front of Jingyu. Why aren't you leaving? Jingyu looked at the little boy who was staring at her and frowned in confusion. Don't stand here. What if I'm exposed? From that direction, I can see you clearly. When the boy heard Jingyu's words, his mouth twitched violently and he said, I can see you from very far away. What? Jingyu heard the boy's words and looked in the direction the boy was pointing at. She was instantly dumbfounded. Damn. Jingyu almost jumped up. He really could see her clearly. Could it be that after so many times, Xiao Chen actually knew that she was hiding here? And she was stupid enough to create this legendary chance encounter? Oh my god. I'm crying because of my stupidity. Jingyu covered her face silently. She didn't dare to imagine. You must be the holy lady of the Holy Family. As Jingyu was silently drawing circles, she heard the little boy in front of her scrutinize Jingyu. His gaze made Jingyu's hair stand on end. What? Jingyu stared at the little boy and asked. Chapter 1353. My name is Zhuathan, the high priest's new disciple. The man smiled slowly and said, Are you the one who will be my master's wife in the future? Pfft. Jingyu nodded when she heard the first half of the sentence. Jingyu probably knew the identity of the person in front of her, but when she heard the second half of the sentence, she instantly burst out laughing. Who told you that? I'm not your master's wife. What nonsense are you spouting at such a young age? Jingyu glared at Zhuan and scolded him in displeasure. She had been waiting here for a long time, but Xiaochen did not come. It seemed that he would not come here. With this thought in mind, she decided not to stay here any longer and turned to leave. Master's wife, who were you waiting for just now? Were you waiting for Master? Zhuan followed Jingyu calmly. He blinked his eyes in confusion and said, I haven't seen Master all this time. What does Master look like? Who are you calling Master's wife? Jingyu was about to explode. She glared at Zhuan angrily and said, My name is Jingyu. Don't call me Master's wife. The saintess is the wife of the high priest. If you are not my master's wife, then who is my master's wife? Zhuan answered Jingyu in a serious manner. Oh my, I'm going crazy. Jingyu took a deep breath and told herself to calm down. She must not use violence to solve this problem. This is just a child, a child. Jingyu told herself countless times in her heart and finally suppressed the urge to kill. You're Zhuan, right? Jingyu took a deep breath. She looked at Zhuan with a smile and said, Although it's predestined, we'll have to wait until we get married. That's when we'll be a real couple. I'm still your master's wife. Do you understand? Is that so? Zhuan blinked his eyes in confusion and thought for a moment. It seemed that Jingyu was right. Remember, next time you see me, you have to call me big sister, okay? Jingyu smiled and patted Zhuan's head again, revealing a gentle face as she spoke. Oh. Zhuan nodded as if he understood something. Jingyu heaved a sigh of relief. Then I'll call you Sister Yu. Zhuan raised his head slightly, looked at Jingyu and asked, Sister Yu, can you tell me more about Master? What does Master look like? Master must be a good person, right? Zhuan's eyes lit up when he mentioned Qinbai. He looked at Jingyu excitedly and said, My biggest wish is to be the high priest's disciple, but Master doesn't seem to like me. I've been here for a few days, but Master hasn't seen me. Zhuan's eyes dimmed as he lowered his head. Huh. Jingyu did not pay attention to Zhuan's words. She was still thinking about how to get rid of Zhuan's tail. How could she hook up with Xiaochen happily with Zhuan's tail? However, when Jingyu heard Zhuan's words, she looked sideways at Zhuan's aggrieved little face and slowly lowered her eyes. She could not bear to see Zhuan's uneasy little face. Do you want to know what your master looks like? Jingyu smiled and looked sideways at Zhuan. Yes. Zhuan nodded repeatedly. Come on, I'll tell you. Jingyu grinned as she pulled Zhuan over to the side of the pool and sat down. She said with a smile, Your master is a very annoying person. Very annoying. Chapter 1354. Jingyu's words made Zhuan frown. But Jingyu changed the topic slightly and said faintly, No matter what he does it for the Holy Family. In his heart, the Holy Family is the family he wants to protect with his life. He can do anything to protect the Holy Family, but he can also be humble in order to protect the Holy Family. Jingyu's eyes looked at the rippling pool, as if she was immersed in her memories. Jingyu's mind replayed the scenes of the past. Everything that Qinbai did was so clear. Qinbai's purpose was so simple and clear. Whether it was to bring her back or to kill her, it was for the Holy Family. Jingyu understood Qinbai's intention when he brought her back. Qin Bai did not want to kill her. He wanted to protect everyone in the Holy Family. He wanted to make it up to her, but Jing Yu turned a blind eye to it and remained indifferent. In short, your master is a handsome man. He's an extremely handsome but very, very annoying guy. Jing Yu rattled off a bunch of things and finally spat out such a conclusion righteously. Oh. Zhuan held his cheeks and said with a yearning look, Master is so loyal to the Holy Family. I must be like Master in the future. There. Jing Yu's eyes twitched and she said unhappily, Didn't I tell you that Qin Bai is a very annoying person? Why do you only listen to the good things? Of course, Master is very, very good. Zhuan nodded firmly. Jing Yu raised her hand to her forehead. She had said so many bad things about Qin Bai. Why did this guy respect her? This did not make sense. Jing Yu looked at Zhuan's yearning face and stood up. She patted the dust off her clothes and said, Now that your master knows about it, I'll take my leave. Wait. Zhuan quickly stood up and looked at Jing Yu shyly. He asked, Sister Yu, I don't have any friends here. Can I come and play with you tomorrow? Jing Yu looked at Zhuan's eyes and asked. In the end, he swallowed the rejection that was on the tip of his tongue and sighed silently. Well, you can come and find me there tomorrow. Jing Yu pointed in the direction of her attic and said, See? That's the building. I live there. You can come and find me there. Thank you, Sister Yu. Zhuan immediately showed a bright smile. It was already late when Jing Yu and Zhuan parted ways. Jing Yu did not see Xiaoqin again today. This made her feel extremely depressed. However, when she thought of Zhuan, Jing Yu felt a little strange. Normally, Qin Bai would not look for a disciple at this time. It was no wonder that Qin Bai did not like this disciple. If she was not mistaken, this disciple must have been accepted by someone behind Qin Bai's back. That was why Qin Bai did not care about Zhuan after accepting him. Zhuan was also a victim. Jing Yu raised her eyebrows slightly and smiled faintly. She did not think much about this matter. However, since Jing Yu met Zhuan had been pestering Jing Yu for the next few days. Sister Yu. Sister Yu. Jing Yu was still sleeping soundly on the bed when she heard shouts coming from under the window. This made Jing Yu extremely annoyed as she raised her hand and pulled the blanket over her face, wrapping herself up completely. Chapter 1355. Don't touch me. I'm looking for Elder Sister Yu. I really know Elder Sister Yu. Zhuan's voice once again drifted into Jing Yu's ears intermittently. Jing Yu finally opened her eyes slowly. Jing Yu's voice came from the windowsill. Jing Yu saw Zhuan, who was wearing simple clothes and was being held by 2 guards. He was resisting angrily. Jing Yu's voice rang out and the people who were arguing below looked up. They immediately saw Jing Yu lying on the windowsill. She was wearing an inner garment and her long black hair was draped over her shoulders. Her golden-green eyes were a little blurred as she looked at the people in the west. It was as if she had just woken up. Let him come up. Jing Yu yawned in an extremely inelegant manner and said faintly. She then turned around and went back into the house. Zhuan stood under the windowsill in a daze for a long time before he saw a maidservant coming down from the attic. She bowed slightly to Zhuan and respectfully led him to the attic. Zhuan stood in front of the attic and stopped in his tracks. Why didn't the young master go in? Qing Ru asked curiously when she saw Zhuan standing still in front of the door. This is a lady's boudoir. How can I enter as I please? Zhuan's cheeks turned slightly red as he spoke. Qing Ru was taken aback for a moment before she burst into laughter. Miss Yu, let the young master go into the house. Qing Ru bowed slightly to Zhuan and said seriously. Zhuan frowned slightly when he saw Qing Ru entering the house. Then he seemed to have thought of something. He stood in front of the door and hesitated for a moment. In the end, he silently stepped into the house. This was probably the first time Zhuan entered a lady's boudoir. Zhuan looked around curiously when he saw the simple decoration in the room. It seemed to be no different from his own boudoir. His dark eyes darted around and he carefully stepped on the low floor as if he was afraid of disturbing someone. Zhuan? Just when Zwen was enjoying the show, he suddenly heard a soft voice behind him. He was so scared that he trembled. He quickly tensed up and stood still, not daring to move. "What are you doing?" Jingyu was amused when she saw Zwen's cautious look. She smiled faintly and said, "Sit down. I haven't eaten yet." "Have you eaten? Let's eat together if you haven't." "I've eaten." Zwen shook his head and said, "Sister Yu, why did you wake up so late?" "Late?" Jingyu laid on the table weakly and said, "Today is definitely the earliest day I've ever woken up. Tell me, why are you here so early in the morning?" Jingyu's eyes was. Zwen's mouth twitched when he heard Jingyu's words. He said helplessly, "Sister Yu, hurry up and eat. I heard that Master will pass by the pavilion today. Let's go there and wait." "I really want to see Master." "Ugh." Jingyu's mouth twitched when she heard Zwen's words. Was this guy going to wait for Master as well? Not bad, not bad. He's worth teaching. But, if you want to see Qin Bai, why don't you just go to him? Is it that scary? Jingyu looked at Zwen and said. Chapter 1356. No. Zwen lowered his head sadly when he heard Jingyu's words. What if Master doesn't like me? What should I do? Jingyu pursed her lips when she saw Zwen's expression. She raised her hand and patted Zwen's head. Don't worry, your master will definitely like you. Let's sneak a peek later. Eat something to replenish your strength. What kind of strength do we need to sneak a peek at Master? Zwen asked in surprise when he saw Jingyu eating. Just eat. You'll know later. Jingyu smiled mysteriously at Zwen and ate with all her might. Zwen nodded as if he understood Jingyu's words and started eating as well. Qingru looked at the two people who were eating at the table. The corner of her eyes twitched fiercely. Miss Yu was already a headache for her, and now there was another young master. She couldn't live like this anymore. Qingru's face was full of tears. After Jingyu and Zwen finished eating, they went out together. There were countless pavilions in the Holy Family Palace. Jingyu asked several people to find out which path Qin Bai would take. She finally settled on a place. She had to admit that the Holy Family had beautiful scenery everywhere. Zwen, go up. At this moment, Jingyu and Zwen were standing beside a rockery outside a pavilion. Huh. Zwen looked at the tall rockery in front of him and swallowed silently. He looked at Jingyu and asked with a pleading expression, why do we have to go up? Of course it's because we have to go up and hide so that we can see clearly. That way we won't be discovered, Jingyu said solemnly. But Zwen looked at the tall rockery and said innocently to Jingyu, this rockery is so tall. What should we do? Jingyu almost spat out her rice when she heard Zwen's words. She looked at the rockery in front of her. Rockery? Jingyu laughed so hard that she almost cried. How is this small rockery tall? Could it be that this kid had acrophobia? Stop talking nonsense. Go up. Jingyu looked left and right. She was worried that the guy was taking too long. If Qin Bai arrived, they would be done for. She pushed Zwen and seriously said, I will help you get up. Come here. Step here, Jingyu said as she dragged Zwen towards the rockery. Then, Zwen, hangs up. Jingyu was on the verge of tears. Her face was red as she struggled to hold on to Zwen and shouted, Why are you so heavy? What should we do? What should we do? I'm going to fall down, I'm going to die. Sob, sob, sob. Sister Yu, what do we do? Zwen wailed. Jingyu instantly felt the weight on her shoulders become heavier. Her small face was full of cold sweat. Shut up. Jingyu was practically roaring with her life. Hurry up and go up, don't move. Sister Yu, I can't go up. I can't do it. Zwen cried and howled. Jingyu was in tears. Are you a fucking man? Go up if you're a man. Hurry up. Jingyu was about to explode. Chapter 1357. Zwen stepped on Jingyu's shoulder. Jingyu's weak body was swaying while Zwen's feet were trembling. Jingyu really did not know what Zwern was afraid of at such a small height. Boo-hoo-hoo. I'm a man, boo-hoo-hoo. Zwern cried and said with a trembling voice, I can't go up even if I'm a man. Sister Yu? Help, stop talking nonsense. Jingyu took a deep breath and said, Step on that stone over there and go up. Don't be afraid. Don't worry, you won't die from the fall. Even if you fall, I can catch you. Do you hear me? Jingyu said seriously as she steadied herself. Really? Xuan's body trembled slightly when he heard Jingyu's words. He lowered his head and asked while looking at Jingyu's head. Stop nagging. Go up quickly. Jingyu felt that her legs were going to give way. He was really heavy. Xuan swallowed his saliva slightly. He stretched out his trembling feet and stepped on a stone by the side according to Jingyu's instructions. It was already very good that Jingyu could support this young man who was about 15 or 16 years old, but he still needed so much time. Xuan swallowed slightly, stretched out his trembling feet and stepped on a stone by the side according to Jingyu's instructions. Yes, step on that. Come on. Jingyu instructed Xuan to step on the stone while she lifted Xuan's foot. She then exerted some force and lifted Xuan up to the top of the rockery. Oh my God! Jingyu saw that Xuan was safely on the top of the rockery. Her legs suddenly gave way and she sat on the ground directly. She raised her hand and rubbed her shoulder with a painful expression. However, Xuan was even more afraid when he sat on the top of the rockery. Sister Yu, what should I do? Don't go. Xuan lay on the top of the rockery and did not dare to move. He stole a glance below and suddenly felt dizzy. His heartbeat accelerated and his whole body went limp. Stop shouting. Jingyu looked at Xuan's good-for-nothing appearance and shouted fiercely. She sighed and stood up. She climbed up the rockery neatly with her hands and feet and stood on the rockery. She could not understand why she was standing on the rockery. Why was this guy so scared at such a small height? The corners of Jingyu's mouth twitched. She pulled Xuan to one side and said, Come here. Hide well and don't move. Xuan remained motionless at the spot that Jingyu had pointed out. Jingyu could clearly feel Xuan's body trembling. The corner of her mouth twitched slightly as she raised her hand to grab Xuan's hand. I'll pull you. You won't fall. Jingyu said quietly. Then she lay on the rockery attentively and looked at the road outside the pavilion. From this position, she could clearly see the road. Xuan's heart trembled when his hand was grabbed by Jingyu. He lowered his eyes and looked at Jingyu's hand. He did not know if it was because of Jingyu's words, but at this moment, Xuan suddenly believed in Jingyu's words. He caught her. Xuan raised his head slightly and looked at Jingyu. He looked at Jingyu's side profile. Her pair of golden-green eyes were shining faintly. At this moment, her face and eyes seemed to be reflected in Xuan's heart. I'm coming, I'm coming. Just as Xuan was staring at Jingyu's side profile in a daze, Jingyu suddenly said nervously. Then she quickly raised her hand and pressed Xuan's head down a little. Chapter 1358. Look. Jingyu stared at the figure that slowly appeared on the path in the distance and said in surprise, The man in black standing in the middle is Qin Bai, your master. Xuan's eyes were filled with surprise. He looked at the person Jingyu was talking to. He saw Qin Bai talking to Ling Ji behind him. Then he walked away from their line of sight, one step at a time. But that's master. Xuan's eyes were sparkling with joy, and even Jingyu, who was beside him, seemed to be affected by the surprise in his eyes. Yes, that's your master. Jingyu reached out and touched Xuan's head and said, Are you satisfied now that you've seen your master? Yes. Xuan nodded repeatedly and Jingyu also smiled. After Qin Bai walked away, Jingyu and Xuan were about to stand up when they suddenly saw another figure on the path. Hiss. When Jingyu saw that figure, she immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. Her eyes were filled with surprise. Shoo. Jingyu quickly pulled Xuan and lay down again. Sister Yu, what's wrong? Xuan was surprised when he saw Jingyu's actions. When he turned his head, he saw Jingyu staring at the person walking on the path with a pair of big eyes. I was wondering why I couldn't find Xiao Chen at the corridor. It turns out that he didn't take the corridor and took a longer route. Jing Yu looked at Xiao Chen, who was dressed in black and strolling on the path. Her eyes were filled with surprise. Sister Yu? Is that man the one you've been watching? Xuan suddenly felt a little strange when he saw Jing Yu's expression. He pursed his lips slightly and looked at Jing Yu as he asked. Jing Yu stared at Xiao Chen and said, "That man is the one I've been watching. I mistook you for him when I met you at the corridor." Oh. Xuan responded uncomfortably when he heard Jing Yu's words. His face turned slightly ugly. But Jing Yu slowly lowered her eyes and said, "He seems to hate me. He won't even look at me, otherwise, why would he avoid me again and again?" Xuan took in the dim and sad look in Jing Yu's eyes. He lowered his eyes and looked at Jing Yu seriously and said, "Sister Yu." Jing Yu suddenly raised her head when she heard Xuan's solemn voice. "It's okay. If he ignores you, I'll ignore you. I'll play with you in the future." Xuan looked at Jing Yu carefully and said, "Ah." Jing Yu heard Xuan's words and a strong smile appeared in her eyes. She reached out and patted Xuan's head and said, "Good, good. At least you have a conscience and know how good I am." "Sister Yu, I'm serious." Xuan shook his head and avoided Jing Yu's hand that was patting his head. He said, "I'll grow up in the future. When I grow up, I'll be able to protect you." Yes. Jing Yu nodded repeatedly and did not take Xuan's words to heart. She stood up and said, "All right, since you've seen him, let's go." Chapter 1359. How do I go down? Xuan looked at Jing Yu as she stood up. He swallowed his saliva silently and looked at the height below. He looked at Jing Yu with an aggrieved expression and said, "I don't dare to go down." "Coward." The corner of Jing Yu's eyes twitched fiercely. Her eyes were filled with helplessness. She reached out and threw Xuan, who was lying on the rockery with his buttocks sticking out and did not dare to move, down. "Help." Xuan did not expect Jing Yu to throw him down so cleanly without saying anything. At that moment, Xuan's heart collapsed. He landed on the ground beautifully. Jing Yu jumped down from the rockery easily. She looked at Xuan, who was lying motionless in the haystack, and kicked his buttocks. "Hey, stop pretending to be dead. Get up," Jing Yu said with a look of disgust. "It hurts." Xuan wailed and howled. He covered his chest and rolled on the haystack. He looked at Jing Yu with eyes full of complaints and said, "Sister Yu, how dare you try to kill me? Is there something wrong with your brain?" Jing Yu squatted down and patted Xuan's head. She said, "Did you see clearly? You won't die from such a height." "But I almost died." Xuan looked at Jing Yu with an aggrieved expression and said, "You scared me to death. All right. Get up quickly. You're covered in mud. Go back and change your clothes." Jing Yu looked at her shoulder that was stepped on by Xuan and said helplessly, "I don't want to go back. Sister Yu, can I go to your place to take a bath?" Xuan rolled his eyes and looked at Jing Yu with a smile. He said, "And it's so far from here. I don't know how to go back, Jing Yu looked around and thought carefully. She nodded and said, "All right, come to my place. You can have a meal with me." Jing Yu said as she walked forward, "Ask someone to bring your clothes over and wake up." "Sister Yu, you're the best." Xuan looked at Jing Yu with a smile and cheered. Jing Yu looked at Xuan and shook her head helplessly. She then led Xuan home. Since Xuan's clothes had not arrived yet, Jing Yu asked Xuan to wait while she went into the bathroom to take a bath. Jing Yu soaked in the warm bathtub comfortably. Jing Yu squinted her eyes as she enjoyed the bath. Xuan sat outside patiently, looking at the various paintings hanging in the room. Xuan seemed to be very fond of them. Qingru. Just when Xuan was engrossed in his reading, he suddenly heard someone calling him from the bathroom. Xuan was slightly stunned. He stood up straight and looked around. Suddenly, he remembered that Sister Qingru said she was going to get something. "Sister Yu." Sister Qingru went out to get something. Xuan thought for a while and suddenly said aloud, "Oh." Jing Yu frowned slightly when she heard Xuan's answer. She said, "I left my clothes outside. Can you bring them in for me?" What? Xuan's mind went blank when he heard Jing Yu's words. His face turned red in an instant. He stood there uneasily and said, Sister Yu, I can't go in. Wait for Sister Qingru to come back. Chapter 1360. Qingru's eyes widened in horror when she saw Xuan coming out of Jing Yu's bathroom. Xuan's face flushed red when he saw Qingru's expression. He dared not say a word and ran out of the door. Miss Yu. Qingru rushed into the bathroom in a panic when she saw Xuan running away. Her face turned pale when she saw Jing Yu putting on her clothes. You're back? Jing Yu said when she saw Qingru. You're just in time. Come and help me. Miss Yu, are you all right? Just now, the young master? Qingru hurried forward and asked Jing Yu. What can happen to me? Jing Yu shook her head in amusement and said, I called you for a long time but you didn't respond. So I asked Xuan to bring my clothes in. I'm done washing up. You can ask him to get ready. Miss Yu, how could you let the young master into the bathroom? Qingru widened her eyes in panic when she heard Jing Yu's words. What's wrong? Jing Yu knew what Qingru was thinking when she saw her expression. She laughed and said, You're overthinking. I'm wearing my clothes. But you're wearing your clothes? Qingru heaved a sigh of relief and said, You didn't see anything, right? Jing Yu nodded firmly. Qingru slowly relaxed her body and glared at Jing Yu disapprovingly. Miss Yu, it's wrong of you to do this. If word gets out, your reputation will be tarnished. Jing Yu laughed loudly. It's all right. I only treat Xuan as my younger brother. After hearing Jing Yu's explanation, Qingru still had a look of disapproval on her face and continued to ramble on for a long time. Xuan left? Jing Yu heard the guard outside ask seriously when she came out of the bathroom. Why did he leave? Jing Yu was also puzzled. Qingru explained, When I came in, I saw the young master running out with a red face. I thought something happened. This kid. Jing Yu smiled helplessly when she heard Qingru's explanation. She said, Forget it. Prepare lunch. I'm hungry. Qingru bowed and went to prepare lunch. The next day, she thought that Xuan would pester her again to peek at Qinbai. However, she did not hear any news of Xuan for the next 2 days. Jing Yu was very surprised when she saw him. Did he get tired of looking at her? He wanted to see Qinbai very much. As expected, it was hard guessing a child's mind. Is the apprenticeship ceremony tomorrow? Jing Yu sat in the attic and asked Qingru while eating sunflower seeds. Yes, tomorrow is the High Priestess Disciple Acceptance Ceremony. This is what the High Priestess sent over. It's the clothes that the Saintess will wear tomorrow. Qingru said as she turned her body slightly and pointed at the clothes and accessories on the table. I see. Jing Yu nodded slowly. She had not seen Xuan for so many days. It must be because the apprenticeship ceremony is coming. This kid must be too excited and is memorizing his lines in his room. Jing Yu could almost imagine that scene, and a faint smile appeared in her eyes. She turned her head and said with a smile, I haven't talked to Xiaoqin for a long time. Where is the 9th emperor now? I'm going to look for him. Chapter 1361. When Qingru heard Jing Yu's words, the corner of her mouth twitched. She helplessly said, Miss Yu, can't you rest in the pavilion? Jing Yu stood up happily and said, Quickly help me dress up. While Jing Yu was dressing up, a figure walked elegantly towards Xiaoqin's residence. The figure was dressed in red and swaying her waist. It was obviously Nailin Yu. At this moment, Nailin Yu had a faint smile in her eyes. Is your information correct? Nailin Yu turned her head slightly and asked the guard beside her. This little one guarantees that it is absolutely correct. The guard nodded his head firmly and said, This little one spent a lot of effort to find out from the Saintess' personal servant. The high priest's new disciple really did come out of the Saintess' bathroom. Nailin Yu laughed out loud when she heard this. There was a faint smile in her eyes as she happily said, Jingyu, you really know how to surprise me. I really want to see. If Xiaochen finds out, what will he be like? Nailin Yu's eyes were tinged with a faint smile. She raised her head and strode into Xiaochen's courtyard. Jingyu happily walked towards Xiaochen's residence. She thought to herself that she had finished eating and there was nothing to meet. What excuse should she use to get closer to Xiaochen? Jingyu pondered as she walked. Just as she was thinking, she suddenly passed by a garden on the side. Looking at the delicate blooming flowers, she suddenly seemed to have thought of something. Her eyes lit up faintly. Ayaya, I really didn't expect this. At this moment, Jingyu had a bouquet of bright flowers in her hands. To think that I, Jingyu, would have a day like this. Just because I hate a man, Jingyu would give him flowers? Jingyu looked at the flowers in her hands and said helplessly, It's a good thing that these flowers are free. I'm such a good woman. If I were in the modern world, I would definitely be killed by someone who wants to marry me. Jingyu muttered to herself. Qingru, who was behind her, didn't understand what Jingyu was muttering to herself. However, when she saw Jingyu's happy expression, she helplessly shook her head. She really didn't understand why Jingyu was so persistent. Jingyu happily walked into the room. Xiaochen was reading a book. Jingyu raised her bright little face as she called out Xiaochen's name. I found some flowers and I think they're perfect for you. When Xiaochen heard Jingyu's words, he slowly raised his head. His cold eyes looked at Jingyu, causing Jingyu's smile to stiffen. What's wrong? Jingyu looked at Xiaochen's expression and frowned slightly. She asked in confusion. Get out. Xiaochen stared at Jingyu for a long time. Then, he frowned as if he was disgusted and spat out these 3 words. Xiaochen. The smile on Jingyu's face completely disappeared. She tightened her grip on the flowers in her hands and said, I'm just here to give you flowers. If you don't like them, just say so. Chapter 1362. Give me flowers? Xiaochen coldly threw down the bouquet in his hand and looked at Jingyu with a pair of cold eyes. He slowly stood up and walked steadily to stand in front of Jingyu. Do you think that this king would care about these flowers? Xiaochen slowly looked down at the bouquet in Jingyu's hand and a look of disgust flashed across his eyes. He looked up at Jingyu again and said, And do you think that this king would care about you? Take your flowers and get out of this king's house. Xiaochen's cold aura and the look of disgust in his eyes made Jingyu's mind go blank. Why? Jingyu stared blankly at Xiaochen. Although Xiaochen had always been cold and indifferent to her, why now? Jingyu could clearly sense a strong sense of disgust from Xiaochen. Why? When Xiaochen heard Jingyu's question, it was as if he had heard something very funny. He slowly straightened his body and looked at Jingyu mockingly as he said, This king thinks that you are dirty. This king thinks that you are dirty. These 5 short words were like thousands of sharp arrows that ruthlessly pierced Jingyu's heart. The moment Xiaochen spat out these 5 words, Jingyu's face lost all color and her body seemed to have been sucked dry in an instant. Xiaochen, you fucking bastard. Jingyu was silent for a moment and then her eyes slowly widened. She threw the bouquet in her hand at Xiaochen's face with all her might. Xiaochen was caught off guard by Jingyu's attack and frowned slightly. He tilted his head and looked at Jingyu from the corner of his eyes as she turned and ran out of the house. The moment he looked at Jingyu's back, Xiaochen's heart violently shrank. He didn't know why, but the moment he saw Jingyu's back, Xiaochen felt like he was in a trance. This feeling was so foreign. Yet it also felt so familiar. Why did it feel so familiar? Xiaochen slowly frowned and looked down at the flowers scattered all over the floor. He stood there motionless. 9 emperors? When the guard heard the commotion in the house, he quickly rushed in and saw this scene. When he saw Xiaochen standing there motionless, he frowned slightly and called out to Xiaochen worriedly. Tidy up this place. After Xiaochen indifferently spat out the sentence, he indifferently turned around and sat back on his chair. He continued to pick up the book on the table and began to read. When the guard heard Xiaochen's words, he was slightly stunned. When he saw Xiao Chen sitting down and then looked at Xiao Chen's red face, he originally wanted to ask something but silently swallowed the words in his mouth. Jing Yu almost rushed out of the courtyard and ran all the way to the corridor. Just as she was about to catch her breath, she saw a person that Jing Yu didn't want to see at all. Oh, isn't this the Saintess? Nailin Yu saw that Jing Yu wasn't surprised at all. She faintly curled her lips and said, "Looking at you, you ran out of Xiao Chen's house again, right?" Nailin Yu looked up and down at Jing Yu and said, "Looking at you, I know that you must have been chased out by Xiao Chen again. You really don't want to give up." Chapter 1363. You're talking about your love for Xiao Chen on one hand, but you're flirting with other men on the other hand. Nailin Yu said mockingly as she looked at Jing Yu with a faint smile in her eyes. Get lost. Jing Yu looked at Nailin Yu with disgust in her eyes. She turned around and walked past Nailin Yu without saying a word. Nailin Yu looked at Jing Yu, who was leaving, and did not chase after her. The corner of her mouth hooked up into a smug smile. This is really fun. Nailin Yu looked at Jing Yu, who was running away, and said happily, "There's more to come." Jing Yu was really pissed off by Xiao Chen this time. She sat by the side of the pool and hugged herself as she lowered her head without saying a word. Jing Yu heard footsteps behind her while she was in a daze. Jing Yu heard footsteps behind her. "Sister Yu." Zuan's voice rang in Jing Yu's ears. Jing Yu was stunned for a moment before she turned around to look at Zuan. "Sister Yu, are you all right? Are you all right?" Zuan saw Jing Yu sitting by the pool in the pavilion. He quickly climbed up the wall and asked anxiously as he looked at Jing Yu, "What's wrong? What could have happened to me?" Jing Yu looked at Zuan, who was so anxious. She looked at herself and shook her head slowly. "That's great. You're all right." Zuan slowly breathed a sigh of relief. He looked at Jing Yu and suddenly became a little reserved. "What's wrong?" Jing Yu looked at Zuan, who was sweating profusely. Did he run over just to check on her? Could it be that something had happened? Jing Yu looked at Jing Yu with a puzzled expression. Her eyes were full of questions. "It's nothing." Zuan waved his hand and said, "I heard that you didn't look too well when you came out from the Nine Emperors' place." "Oh?" Jing Yu's face darkened when she heard Zuan mention Xiao Chen. She pursed her lips tightly and remained silent. Zuan looked at Jing Yu and frowned. "Sister Yu, did you hear any bad rumors?" Jing Yu blinked her eyes in confusion. When Zuan saw Jing Yu looking at him, he immediately lowered his head nervously, as if he was thinking of something to say. His expression made Jing Yu frown. "Sister Yu, I'm sorry." Just when Jing Yu was about to ask, Zuan suddenly bent down and stared at Jing Yu seriously. "I promise, I will be responsible for Sister Yu." "What?" Jing Yu was completely dumbfounded by Zuan's words. "Responsible? What responsibility?" "Sister Yu, wait for me." Zuan looked at Jing Yu firmly and ran away after saying this. Jing Yu quickly stood up and shouted, "What did you say? Come back and tell me clearly." However, Jing Yu's shouting had no effect at all. Zuan ran to Jing Yu and said this before running away, leaving Jing Yu standing there with a confused look. When Jing Yu returned to her residence, she still had no idea what had happened. However, Jing Yu felt very strange on her way back. Jing Yu felt very strange. "Miss Yu, you're finally back." Qing Ru was almost anxious in the house. When she saw Jing Yu, she finally heaved a sigh of relief and quickly stepped forward to greet her. Chapter 1364. What's wrong? Jing Yu blinked her eyes in confusion when she saw Qing Ru's anxious expression. What's wrong with those people? Why do I feel like they're looking at me strangely on the way back? Miss Yu, something big has happened. Qing Ru grabbed Jing Yu's hand tightly and said, "I don't know who spread the news that little Lord entered Miss Yu's bathroom. It's spreading like wildfire now." "What did you say?" Jing Yu's eyes widened in shock when she heard Qing Ru's words. She finally understood why those people were looking at Jing Yu strangely and why Zuan would say something about taking responsibility. Who spread the news? Jing Yu's heart throbbed as she stared at Qing Ru. I don't know. Qingru was so anxious that she was about to cry. She looked at Jingyu and said, I didn't tell anyone. Could it be that little lord was seen when he went out? Damn it. Jingyu's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Although there was nothing between Jingyu and Zuan, if this was just a rumor, it was definitely 1,000 times more serious than the truth. Miss Yu, what should we do now? Qingru asked anxiously as she looked at Jingyu. Wait, Jingyu took a deep breath and said, wait for Qinbai to come. Qingru's eyes widened when she heard Jingyu's words. Qinbai should be the most anxious when such a big thing happened. Jingyu lowered her eyes slightly and the anxiety in her heart eased a little. No wonder Nailin Yu said something like that. It seems like that idiot Nailin Yu must have said something to Xiaoqun. The scariest thing was these kinds of rumors that spread like wildfire. If Xiaoqun hadn't forgotten about her, Nailin Yu would have been slapped to death on the spot. However, the situation was different now. No wonder Xiaoqun said something like that. Xiaoqun, you idiot! Jingyu thought. Although she knew it was a rumor that caused the trouble, Jingyu still felt incomparably angry when she thought about what happened just a moment ago. She raised her hand and slammed it on the table as she thought to herself. When Xiaoqun recovers in the future, she would settle all the scores with Xiaoqun. Jingyu took a deep breath and raised her hand to pour herself a cup of tea. Just as Jingyu took a sip of the tea, the door was knocked open. Jingyu's hand that was holding the tea trembled slightly. She turned her head to look at the door and saw Qinbai full of anger. Without saying anything, he rushed towards Jingyu. Jingyu calmly put down the teacup in her hand. All of you get out. Qinbai's face was full of haze. He shouted at Qingru, who was standing to the side. Then, he saw the maids in the room retreat and closed the door on their way out. Jingyu blinked and looked at Qinbai. Qinbai also looked at Jingyu. The two of them looked at each other without saying a word. I say. Jingyu finally couldn't stand it anymore. She slowly frowned and asked, when are you going to stop looking at me? Is it true that Zuan entered your bathroom? After hearing Jingyu's words, Qinbai looked like he was suppressing his cold anger and stared at Jingyu. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.